Hello. Hello, hello. I'm doing sharing on TikTok. And then I'll be attention everywhere. So just let me do sharing is caring, correct? That's what I heard. That's what I told people. I tell them all the time. Did you have an enjoyable Wednesday? I had to check which day I was at. Did you have an enjoyable Wednesday, Candace? I'm going to do a check-in on the energies. Like I'll do a tarot reading check-in. I'm going to also demonstrate a couple of soothing techniques that can be really handy for anyone who has experienced trauma. Hi, Kelly. Nice to meet you. I am not a bot. I'm not AI. I'm not from Nigeria. I live in Alberta, Canada. And hi. Somebody questioned me about that, and I'm like, you watched me on my live and I said hi. Like I actually said hi to you. Like, wow. I'm human. But anyway, I can understand a lot of skepticism these days, and especially with how AI is getting quite advanced. So I mean, I guess it's, it's valid. Okay. Who was I sharing to now? I don't know. You know what? I think I've shared to enough on that one. I'm going to share on my other channel. I'm just going to mention that I am broadcasting to multiple channels. So I have Facebook and 2 different YouTube channels and then 2 different TikTok channels. So that's so if you see me looking in different directions, it's just at one of the other ones. Okay. All right. I'm just going to share on this one here, and then I'm all yours. Sort of. We'll get on to talking about what we're going to talk about, though. And we'll check in on the energies that we're experiencing right now. There. Hello, hello. All right. Say hello. Nice to meet you. Right. Thank goodness. Hey. Yeah, no. I'm as real as can be. I can tell you a little bit about my story, and that can kind of help. I worked for 20 years plus in nursing, and I was the director of nursing in a hospital in long-term care. I looked after the emergency department. I was an educator for nurses. I worked in occupational health as well. I did a bunch of different, but I mean, that was my, I was a flight nurse for years. I worked in Emerge. I did all of those things. And, but I also experienced a lot of trauma when I was a child, and that also expanded into my adult years, because when you haven't managed your traumas, then you have unresolved trauma, and that's just playing out in your life until you address it. Right. And, life gets louder and louder and louder and louder until you listen to it. And that's, and everybody has their point where it hits them and they go, oh, I have to listen now. I have to do something different because what I'm doing isn't working anymore. And with, for me, it was my health. I was, like I said, I was working as the director of nursing. I was looking after Emerge. I had all kinds of roles and responsibilities, and, looking after a lot of nurses and stuff like that as well. And so, it was go, go, go. And I burned myself out, and I ended up getting diagnosed with a bunch of things. And I ended up having to take a leave of absence from work. And I tried to do everything the way that the medical system said. I went to all the therapy. I went to all the group programs. I did all the occupational health therapy, all the rehab, all the, going and seeing a therapist. I took the medications that they prescribed me. I was a star patient. Why? I was a nurse. For one. And for two, I really wanted to get back to work because I did not like being at home and having my trauma really, really, really overwhelming me at that point, because there was nothing I could do to escape it. I had panic disorder and, like CPTSD. So, your childhood trauma, all of that stuff. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, anxiety, depression, panic disorder. What else did I have? Like, oh yeah, ADHD, maybe AUDHD, a little bit of sensory things for sure. But I followed all the stuff that everybody said to do. And then at the end of the day, I wasn't getting any better. And I just wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do. I couldn't work because I was too sedated. Like the medications that they had me on to help me were just, I couldn't go to work like that. And I was looking at, oh my God, I might lose my whole career because I'm on these medications and they're not even helping me. Like I'm not getting better. I'm not getting back to work yet. And so I decided at one point that I was just going to take my health into my own hands. And so the first thing that I did was talk to my care team about going off the medications, like tapering off of everything until I felt different. And then at the point that I felt different, then we could look at adding medications back in or doing something, right? We could adjust it then. I was able to take all the medications away. They weren't actually helping me at all. And the combination of all of them felt worse at the end than what I was experiencing with my trauma or the panic disorder or any of that stuff. And I also started to focus on things that I could control. And that was moment to moment and day to day. And I tried to really, really become obsessed with the present moment, because most times when you're experiencing the most discomfort in your life is when you are either looking at the past and all the bad things that happened from that, or, like all the times that you were victimized, or all the times that life didn't go right, or even all the tragedies that happened, right? There's a whole variety of things from our pasts that we can focus on. And the other part is the fear of the future, because we think all those things that happened in the past are at some point going to reappear in the future in some other way, right? Like our history, right? So if you've had bad relationships, you think, then I'm going to have another bad relationship. You hope that you don't, like you're like not thinking, yeah, I'm just going to keep having a bad relationship. No, you hope that you're going to have a good relationship. But at the end of the day, you don't move into that space because, it's just, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I really did. I lost my train of thought. So I'm going to give a couple of soothing techniques today, and then I'll do the check-in, and then we'll check what else I'm going to talk about today. I have some notes that I wrote down. Hi guys. Oh my goodness, my tea is so hot. I really shouldn't be drinking it quite that quickly. Oh my goodness. Okay, so some of my favorite techniques to give to people. So I have a 10-day program on my website. It's self-paced. It's not a trauma program, but it does give you a bunch of practical tools that you can use that would help you to return to center, which is what the program is called. In that, there's a couple very, like there's all these practices that I do. But anyway, when we're getting into like actual trauma space, you need to have something that is very soothing for you, right? And when you, there's a couple of ways that you can do that you can soothe yourself, and that you can affect your nervous system as well, right? So an example of that is taking your hands and crossing them over onto your arms. And when you rub down in this direction, you're soothing yourself. And this is going to do something special, because when you're rubbing the outside of your arms in that downward fashion, it actually drops your brain wave into delta state, which is it would be the same as being a small child and having your mother like rub your back. Right? It's that soothing sensation and where your brain waves would go in that. So you can do the rubbing your arms, and it's very soothing. And this is also part of a technique called the havening technique. But I'm not going to go into that. That's a more advanced technique. But that will help you to soothe yourself if you are experiencing overwhelm with your emotions. And one of my other favorite techniques is I like to combine things together. I worked as a nurse. I studied spirituality. Like I've studied so many things because I love learning and I love creating things. So that's just, that's my thing. And this one technique, and it's built up from there. And if you give me one moment, I'm going to go and grab my one guidebook that I have, but just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I just wanted to make sure that I got them in the right order when I was sharing them. So, okay. So there is one of the things, like I said, we're not in the present moment, right? We're either in the fear of the future, like forecasting, or, sometimes we're fortune telling, right? Like something happens between us and a friend and we're in our head going, oh, it means this. And we're making all these assumptions, right? That's us foretelling what we think is happening, right? Or trying to mind read. We think we know what the other person is thinking or what they're doing. So, we want to bring ourselves into the present moment, and we can also help ourselves because of our breath, right? Your breath is the brake in your nervous system. It's the one that's going to slow everything down. So when you start to notice that your breath is up here, you want to make sure that you're getting it down into your tummy, right? Because it's not helping you up here. When it's up here, there's a risk of hyperventilating. There's, and that's not fun. And, if you've experienced a panic attack, that's not fun. So what we want to do is we want to keep our nervous system as low as possible, so we have the most room for any of the stressors that are coming at us every day. Right. And when we're doing healing, we want to make sure that we have safety, we have soothing, and we have containers. And whenever I do sessions with people, that is my first thing that I look at. So I do trauma and nervous system support sessions. And in those sessions, my number one thing is ensuring that you have safety, that you have ways to soothe yourself, and that you have containers. Because I know I was the same way. I was like, oh my God, there's so much that I experienced. Oh my God, it's going to be all of it at once. And it felt overwhelming. And I used to talk about how it's like a dam and you feel like the dam is about to burst. And usually the reason why it feels like that is because you've ignored it for a long time and, haven't really allowed yourself to maybe experience your emotions the way that you should be experiencing them, or, grieving something. There's a lot of emotions that we hold on to and that we repress. So this is a beautiful technique that allows you to come back to center, and it works on a couple of different things. So I'm going to explain it all. First thing you're going to do is rub your thumb against your finger. Okay, so this is grounding you into your body, because you're going to focus on the feeling of touch and the sensation. Like you can feel your fingerprints, right? You can feel that, and focusing on that brings you into your body. And you can do this anywhere. You could have this in your pocket. You could have it underneath your arm. You could just be sitting there like that, doing it. You could be at work, sitting underneath, have your hands underneath a desk and be doing that. Nobody would even know. And that's the beauty of it, is you can take it anywhere you want to go. And you need to have portable soothing techniques that work for you when you're out in public, because unfortunately, those things don't always just wait until you get home and you're all in your safe space. A lot of times the things that happen to us are going to happen to us outside somewhere where we are less in our safe zone or in our comfort zone. So you're starting with that. The other thing that you want to do is always remember that the breath is the brake in the nervous system. I can't tell my heart to just beat at 70 beats a minute, right? It's not going to listen. It's not going to just like, okay, bump, 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 right? It's not going to do that. But I can control my breath. I can deepen my breath. I can extend the exhale. I can breathe in a box formation. There's so many things that I can do with my breath, right? And you find the breathing patterns that work for you because you're different than me. In a lot of therapy, they teach the 4-7-8. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. Some people aren't okay with that, but the box 4, that's one that's trained in military to keep them calm under fire, like under literal fire, is the box 4 breathing technique. And that's where you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and you just keep doing that box. In, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, right? That's the box 4. And you can change it. You can make it a box 5 or a box 6, whatever you feel comfortable with. Heart-focused breathing is a powerful tool. It allows you to keep your brain and heart in coherence, and that keeps you more in the driver's seat and in control of what decisions that you're going to make. And it all, like, and it's just such a powerful thing for your nervous system, right? So if you're breathing in and out through your heart space, 5 seconds, that's all it is. You're just focusing on your breath coming in for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds. And you can put your hand right on the center of your chest and just focus on it. Now, why did I say the center of your chest, right? It's not because your heart's sitting right in the center of your chest, but your heart chakra is, and that's the energy center. Your heart is slightly to the left-hand side, tips down with the apex at the over here. But when you bring your hand, like especially like my left hand across, it's coming across across my heart and sitting on the center of my chest. So my heart is still being touched, right? It's still being connected. So when I say the center of the chest, it's not because I'm telling you that your heart sits in the center of your chest, because it is slightly to the left. Okay. So breathing in 5 seconds, out 5 seconds, it's as simple as that to do heart-focused breathing. And then you can add a positive thought to your head, which would turn it to the quick coherence technique. When I do this one, the biggest thing that you want to do is inhale all the way into your tummy, and then you want to exhale nice and slow. Hello, love. Thank you for coming back and joining me today. So it's just a nice, slow, lengthy exhale, right? You want to bring everything down, and that's your break. So figure out a breathing technique that works for you. So you've got your fingers doing the sensation, grounding you into your body. Now you're applying a breathing technique to slow you down, to put that brake on your nervous system. And now we're going to go through a series of questions. And why are we going to do that? Well, because one of the biggest things that keeps us in that cycle is our brain spinning, right? Going over and over and over and over things, right? Like our brains are typically, and it's our ego. It's that ego mind that's going, oh my God, look what happened before. Like this is going to happen again. And oh my God, like, and we turn things. Like there's so many times that our experiences that happened before, we have twisted them in some way, where we then become deprecating towards ourselves, like calling ourselves names and stuff. So the thing to do is take control of the thoughts. So we can do that in a really cool way. So you're doing this and you're slowing down your breathing, and then you're just saying in your mind, where am I? Here. What time is it? Now. Who am I? I am. And then these are 2 extra ones. And I'm putting together a oracle deck that is going to be based on my trauma healing stuff. So it's just going to be, I'm looking forward to it. So the next 2 questions that you're going to ask yourself is, what is happening? And you're just going to state the facts. And that's a big point. And then the next question that you're going to ask yourself is, what do I need? And because you've slowed your breathing down and you've brought yourself into your body, by the time you get to that point where you're asking, what do I need? You should get a clear answer from yourself that, maybe you needed validation. Maybe you needed soothing. Maybe you needed to understand how this was rubbing up against an experience that you had as a small child that was very traumatic for you, right? There's so many different things. And I've talked about how sneaky it can be, right? Because it could be anything. We store trauma in our issues are stored in our tissues, but we carry our trauma throughout our entire energetic bodies, right? So when you have experienced trauma at a very young age, especially, your brain can't comprehend what just happened. It has no clue. That's just the weirdest thing. How, like, what? What is that? Right? So your brain, that tends to be when you block it out. You just, your child brain can't understand what happened. So it just erases it. Like, it's just blacked out. You don't write it down. The energy body, so your spirit takes a part of it, your emotional body takes a part of it. And we take a snapshot of what happened. And a part of that snapshot is the smells, the sounds, the textures, everything that's going on. Our body was like, this is the trauma moment. And then when you're going through life, you might not even realize it, but you'll walk into a room and there'll be a smell, and that smell will take you right back there, and you won't even know why. All of a sudden you're just like, why do I feel so off? Or you're snapping at somebody because you've went into fight mode, right? Because we go into different states when we get trauma, like when we get triggered into our traumas, right? Sorry, I need a sip of tea. Hi guys. So what do you think of that? Do you think that technique would work, to rub your fingers together, to slow your breathing down, using whatever breathing technique works for you, right? To slow it down, but at least make sure you're inhaling into your tummy before you go up into your chest, and then exhale nice and slowly. That's the key, at least that, right? And then the questions. Where am I? Here. What time is it? Now. So you're in the here and now. Who am I? I am, because you are. 222 on the timer right there. That was really cool. 2222. Then you ask, what is happening, and just the facts. And then you finish it up with, what do I need? And it could be soothing. It could be to go sing and dance. It could be to, that's a really great way to change the energy, right? To shift that energy. Think about when a dog gets, when something happens with a dog and he gets startled, he does that full body shake where he just runs it down, and it, like, he flicks it off his tail, right? Like, he's just flicking the energy away. So you can do that as well. Like, it's a really powerful, like shaking it off. There's lots of things. Maybe you need to journal it out. Maybe, there's a bunch of things that could come up as to why. So what does containers mean? When I talk about, like, first working with people that have experienced trauma or, have experienced tragedies, a container is a space that you can put it's a visual container, and you create it in your mind, and it's just a spot that you store all the stuff that happened until you're ready to deal with it at that moment. So you put all your stuff in there, and when you feel like you're ready to deal with some, you open it up. Like, we're not supposed to jump in and grab all of that stuff all at once. That'd be overwhelming. That would be too much for your system. So the first thing that you need to do is put it all in the container, learn the soothing practices, and then create a safe space where you can explore these emotions, and people will respect that space. So if you live in a house with other people, you want to make sure that you have a spot where you can go and you can say, look, I'm going to be processing through some things, and I need this, like, space. I need my privacy, right? Like, if you had the opportunity to, say, do phone therapy or stuff like that, you need to have your privacy to be able to have that conversation, because it's not everybody's entitled to know your whole story, right? And some people, if, you know, like they can use that information against you. So you want to be really, you know, you want to make sure that you have a safe space. So that's important, right? You want to have a safe space so that when you're unpacking your emotions, or when you're looking at your shadows, or doing all of that, that you can remain safe, that you're not dealing with extra stressors. It's hard to deal with trauma if you're in an environment that keeps traumatizing you. You'll only get so far in your healing journey, and then you'll have to make the choice to leave or to step back down a bit, right? Because you can't, it just comes to a point where you need to be progressing forward. Water is a really good technique. Water is something that's really, really powerful when you're having panic attacks. One of the things that you can do is turn the water on cold, and then run it over on your wrists, right? And it's very, very sensitive, right? And the cold shocks you out of it. Okay, you can splash cold water on your face. If you have ice pack on the chest, ice pack on the back of the neck, like those things are, hello, how are you, love? Right? There's all kinds of different techniques. And you can always, like I said, you can always sign up for a session with me, and I'll take you on a personalized journey of what I would suggest for you, right? Like it would be personalized to you. So yeah, I hope that technique helps, and that it's something that you can take with you. And I'm going to clip that from the video and post it so that you can just go and watch that particular video or section that talks about that technique. Now I need to put that on the heater because it's starting to get cold. Okay. So before I do the energy check-in with the cards, okay, we're going to take a detour now. There's so many more techniques that I have, Kelly. Like I just, I used to have do a program called Calm Spaces, and I used to do, I've done so many things. I worked in an inpatient mental health unit as the trauma specialist, and on and on and on. But we're gonna play with my cards. Okay, so all the decks that I use on my lives are my custom decks. So I've made all of these, and that means the pictures too. So these are all pictures that I have personally drawn. And so I'm going to use this deck of cards. This one is my Etherian Tarot deck. So this is a 93 card tarot deck, which means that it has the traditional 78 cards that a tarot has, but it also has the ether element because I wanted to add the 5th element. And it also has an additional card, the cosmic key. So these are my tarot cards. I'm going to use the 44 keys of the way oracle as well. And we'll see if we get into any other cards, but let's see if we can get a good message for the collective and see what's going on right now. What are we dealing with energetically? And I apologize because I'm probably going to throw these on the floor because I'm not even lying. I don't even have them over the table. Yep. Like I said, I'm not even sitting over the table, so they're going to go on the floor. But we'll pick them up like we always do. Oops. I can't wait to have these done like professionally printed because I printed them on my home computer and put them together on like watercolor paper. I like glued the pictures on it and stuff, but I get to have them. Okay, we're good with that. Let me pick up all these guys. Oh my goodness. What are we dealing with here? Whew. I gotta look at all those cards and make sure I didn't miss anywhere. Okay, I think we're good. All right, now I gotta sort them because you know me, I like to do my ups and downs. Ooh, we got a lot of interesting cards here. Nice. All right. Well, we don't have a lot in reverse, but we're going to start with the reverse because we always do. All right. So the first card that came out is the 5 of Water. The 5 of Water came out in the shadow position, and what that means is that There is emotional recovery. You're accepting what's happened. When fives are upright, that's when they tend to create more of a challenge. But remember, as long as you use the challenge to grow with it, right? If you take any of the things that are experiences and just love the experience, and anything where there's a lesson, learn the lesson the first time, right? It's less painful that way. But this anyway is talking about emotional recovery, because like I said, fives in reverse are sometimes the better meaning in that sense. So there's forward movement that's happening. Maybe there was a shift of perspectives, and now that there's just gratitude for what remains. And I know I've experienced this within my own personal life, where there was stuff that happened, but at the end of the day, the two people came to the table as adults and worked it out, and it's beautiful, right? And so that's that emotional recovery, and now there's this gratitude for being together. Hi. What do I think you should do about what? So the next card that came out was the 10 of air in the shadow position. And when the 10 of air is in the shadow position, it can speak of like just difficulty accepting change, or a little bit of resistance to change. Like that difficulty letting go, right? And sometimes we hold on to our pain because it almost validates our experience. So if we can hold on to that, it kind of justifies something. So we have to kind of look into that as to why are we holding on to the pain? Like, why is it that we don't want to release it? Sometimes when we're looking at grief, the reason why we don't want to release that is because we feel like it's almost like being unfaithful to the person who has passed on. And so we will hold on to that pain, like almost like a torch for them to say, like, and also when there's tragedies, like it can be, it's challenging, right? It's challenging to move through those energies. They can be really overwhelming. So the 10 of air is the death of the old stuff. Like that's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to be letting go of the identity, because this is mental when we're looking at air. Water, emotion, air, mental. All right. So we also had this beautiful death and rebirth card, but in the reverse position. And this is the major arcana that represents Scorpio. So you see this little M there with the tail. So when it's in the reverse, again, it's speaking of that resistance to change, fear of letting go. It's just a confirmation for this. So mentally and otherwise, so there may be other ways in which we're refusing to let go, right? There could be clinging to the past, right? And holding on to that, or delaying your own transformation. So that's the reversed cards. But we also know sometimes the cards in the upright, it's not necessarily a great thing. I'm going to start with air, because airs tend to have the most challenging aspects to them when you're looking at tarot. So if you're ever dealing with, when you're using tarot, you have a 78 deck card, and they're all the same structure, right? Like I said, with my deck, I've added the fifth element, the ether element, and the cosmic key, but you can take those out and then you have a 78 deck regular tarot deck with the 4 suits and the major arcana. They all follow the same structure, right? So fives are challenges. Hi, Craig. How are you? So when we have a 5 and an upright, it can be talking that there's some conflict, right? There could be dishonesty or manipulation, or a victory that was won, but it kind of feels a little bit hollow, right? That's the energy of the 5 of air. And what it is it's asking you to discern truth from illusion. And if something feels off, trust yourself, right? Just listen to yourself. And we should be working on our discernment, right? One of the things that AI should be teaching us is to better our discernment, right? How do you know that the person that you're that you're interacting with someone, that's human? And as AI gets better and better and better at it, it'll be more harder to tell. So the only way that you can prepare yourself or protect yourself is to get really good at discerning what is true, right? So that takes time and delving into your body. Okay. So the 5, one of the things that I always like to share about when you allow the conflict to challenge you and you rise to the occasion, conflict is one of the best things for growth. for everybody. Okay, then we have the Seven of Air. The Seven of Air is about strategy, that maybe there's some hidden motives. There could be secrecy. Again, it's calling on discernment, right? Which is what I was just saying. The Seven of Air is a reminder that discernment is your greatest power. So it's just literally confirming what I just said, that we have to be working on this, right? So you are being asked to see beyond illusions, trust your intuition, and navigate carefully. If something feels off, investigate further. The truth will always reveal itself. And we are in this collective energy of the truth revealing itself, right? Okay. So then we have the Nine of Water, and the Nine of Water is a beautiful card. I actually love the colors. Right? Isn't that, it is, it's beautiful. Oh, I love you, love. All right. So then this is emotional fulfillment, right? This is the wishes granted. So because of the work that we do, that's when the rewards come in, right? That's when we level up to, another space. And maybe that part of that space just means you have more peace in your life. Maybe you have more ease in your life. Maybe you have more joy in your life, whatever it is that's aligned for you, but there's something that happens. And a part of that could be that, maybe your actual wishes are being granted. Maybe you were asking for $10,000 a month minimum, and all of a sudden you're making 15, right? And it's just like that. Maybe it's, you were hoping to win the lottery so you could have a whole year of everything paid for a whole year. Like, who knows? I'm just saying, whatever it is, that's what the wish could be being granted at this time. That's the energy of this beautiful Nine of Water. Okay, so the Nine of Water reminds you to celebrate your journey, acknowledge how far you've come, and embrace the beauty of your manifestations. This is a moment to bask in the energy of abundance and know that your heart's desires are aligning perfectly within the universe. Okay. All right. So we got two other cards. We've got these are both major arcana. One is the 8 or the Strength card, and the other is 10, the Wheel. And the Strength card is the card that represents Leo. And it is talking about that inner strength and resilience, right? It's that resilience and that inner strength that you're cultivating that is bringing you to the level of receiving all of the wishes, of having them granted, right? Because you've shown how steady you can remain in spite of the chaos that's going on around you, right? Or you're embodying the truth. You're living your truth. And that's a beautiful thing. The universe likes to reward people who are living their truth. So truth strength is not about control. It is about alignment with your highest truth. Lead with love, stand firm in your power, and trust that your courage will guide you through any challenge. You are stronger than you know. And it's true, you are. You've overcome everything up until this point, right? You have survived until this point. You are so much stronger than you know. All right. And there's lots more ahead for you. All right, so this one, we're in the upright position. The wheel is always spinning, right? And we want to catch it while it's on the upswing, because that means that we're dealing with destiny, as opposed to on the downswing where it's not so good. It's not the good energy, right? So we are in destiny energy, and there's this change, divine timing. There's cycles of life, right? That's the wheel spinning. There's new opportunities that are coming out. Fate is aligning in your favor. So we've got wishes granted and fate aligning in your favor. Like, these are two beautiful cards to have happening together. So the other thing is there's movement, right? The wheel is about movement. So there has to be action that's being taken, right? That's what we need. And that's the only way that you embody the truth, is by actually taking action. So the wheel reminds you that nothing is stagnant. Everything moves in cycles. Embrace the rhythm of change, align with divine flow, and trust that each turn brings you closer to your highest path. So that was pretty good energy. I'm going to check on the 44 Keys of the Way, because I absolutely love these cards. I did all the artwork on these in watercolors, and then just wrote on the backs of them. And they're just a cute little deck of cards. I do have to, one card there. I do have to copy them all in and get them prepared so that I could make them into cards for other people. But right now I'm just enjoying them with myself. All right. So you can go to my website. There are custom readings there, and in both astrology and in tarot. I do a variety of things. Anything to help you out. Okay, you know what? We're going to do 4. That's fine. We're going to do 4. I was only going to do 3, but 4 it is. I wanted to have the extra. All right, so the first card that came out is the Unknown Path. So these are the 44 keys of the way, and they have a set pattern in the card. Number 1 is affirmation. So the affirmation for the unknown path is, I trust the path even when it is unclear. And that's the hardest moment, is to keep trusting when you're not certain what is coming in the next moment. Okay, so your remembrance. Clarity is often incremental. Trust is the capacity to move without full visibility. Each step reveals the next. Over control narrows your options, and it does, right? When you're trying to control everything. So then the practice for this is to take one step without over planning, check in after, and then note your outcome. So the next card that came out is the Radiant Influence. So we went from 14 to 41. So, pretty nice to have the numbers. All right, affirmation. My presence influences the world around me. Remembrance. State affects environment. Calm stabilizes, agitation spreads. Influence is continuous, not occasional. So your practice, regulate your breath for 60 seconds. Enter one interaction calmly, maintain your tone. So that's a good practice. All right, so we had the breath of life that came out next. And the breath of life is number 5, affirmation. My breath reconnects me to the source of life within. The remembrance. Breath regulates the body and clarifies the mind. It is always available and always current. When you lengthen the exhale, the system settles and perception sharpens. Breath is the simplest reset. Practice. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds for 2 minutes. Relax your jaw and shoulders and notice the shift. All right, last card, because this one wanted to be seen for some reason, so it must be important for somebody. And this one here is the Returning Flame, number 11. Affirmation. I always have the power to return to alignment. The remembrance. You will drift. Returning is the practice. No distance is permanent. Each return strengthens the pathway home. Consistency matters more than perfection. Your practice. Pause. Take one deep breath. Say, I return, and then resume with one clear action. So those are the cards for today. How did you like those? Did you see that? Do you see that showing up in your life right now, that type of energy or those types of experiences? I mean, I'm taking the wishes granted. I'll claim that. Thank you. I appreciate you though. So I'm going to check in. I wanted to see if threw this one on the ground. Which card is this? Okay. So, right? Isn't that lovely? So these cards are my truth and discernment cards, or Christic discernment. I haven't settled on the name entirely yet, but these cards have a very small little message, right? They're usually just like little clarity, right? It's to give you indication on how that you can either in your body, which is the blue, is the green section is body, or in your mind, or in your energy field, or just in truth. How can you know whether it's true or not, aligned or not? Like, how can you sharpen your discernment? So the card that came out with this one is number 10, and is talking about tight shoulders. So if you're experiencing tight shoulders, what that means is that you are carrying unnecessary load. So there's something that you're carrying that maybe doesn't belong to you. Maybe you're carrying the weight of other people's expectations. Maybe you're carrying other people's emotions. Maybe you're carrying responsibilities that you should not be responsible for, that you never signed up for. There's a whole host of things, right? And and sometimes we have a lot of responsibilities, and it's recognizing them. So the thing to do in this situation is to realistically speak with your body, like and work with your body. And you're asking yourself, and you're telling your body to release the pressure, right? Because you do not need to hold this. So because you're feeling tight in your shoulders, it can be, like I said, the indication that you're carrying things that are not yours, or an unnecessary load in any way. And so what you want to do is say, release the pressure. I do not need to hold this. And then lower your shoulders away from your ears. Okay. So that's a beautiful little, quick little technique that can help you. So I love these little cards. They can be great for answering quick little questions and stuff like that. But I love when you can use them in that way, just to give yourself more insight how to discern the truth in situations. And those things would be giving you a cue that something's off, right? That's not in alignment for you. If you're feeling really tight shoulders, there's something out of alignment, right? And in this case, it's that you're taking on those extra responsibilities or carrying burdens that aren't yours. Sometimes we get, like we take on the burdens of the world, and you can't take on the burdens of the world. You're one person. You're one person. You're not meant to carry all that, right? You can only carry what you can carry, and that should be what is in your, right? And, when you have the amount in your cup, like people pour from their cup. They're like, I'm going to give, and I'm going to give, and I'm going to give, and I'm going to give. And then they run out of energy, and, and they burn out, like I did, right? I talked about that earlier. And instead, you're supposed to have your cup full, right? So I have a very full cup right now, energetically. So if somebody needed something from me, I can hold that capacity for them, that space, because I'm not in a space where my nervous system's up here or anything. I'm like very calm. My nervous system has a large capacity, and that's what you want to work towards. You want to work towards your nervous system having a wider capacity, so that, and I talk about it like it's love you, sweetheart. I'm so glad we met. I'm so glad that I've sent that message to you. Kismet, it's meant to be, right? It's all about alignment. Everything, all the interactions that you have, there's a reason for them, right? The ones that make you go, ooh, they're telling you something. And the ones that make you go, ooh, they're also telling you something. So I'm glad that you found value in that. That makes me happy. I love the purple heart and the hug. I'll take it. Okay. We went and talked about a whole bunch of things. I don't even know what else I was going to talk about today, but let me check and see what my show notes are, and we'll try to talk about a little bit of that. Hi, Carol. How are you, love? How are you? So nice to see you, and thank you for following me. And I love the 333 after your name, my favorite numbers. And that's my company, Mind, Body, Spirit, that's what it was called initially, until it became on Sha'Ryah. And yeah, the 333, right? All the trifectas. So I love the threes and community, right? Okay. So, what are we talking about? What was I going to do it? Yeah, I don't know if I'm like digging any of the stuff that I wrote down for my notes. We had a better talk when we just went and talked, and I kind of like that. So we can just talk, and you guys can ask questions, and I can always pull a card. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'm nice and I pull a card. But I can answer questions and stuff, right? Thank you, sweetheart. Put that back on the top, on that. Keep it hot. I love Jesus too. I'd probably call him Yeshua though. No questions? None? No cards? None? Nobody wants neither? What would you get all excited about? No, we don't need to bark. I don't think there's anything out there. There's nothing out there. Nope. Nope. Sorry, guys. Oh, I don't do questions like that. I would pull it like I don't do questions like that. Nice. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. I was seeing what cards she wanted me to use for you. All right. I'm going to pull a card for you. Perfect. I'll pull a card for Kelly afterwards. All right. I'd like a message from Midlight Purple's higher self, please. Oops. I got to glue some of these down again. It's like, there's that wondering whether or not you're on the right path is coming up, and your higher self wants you to know that you absolutely are. It's always unfolding before you. Pay attention to the patterns that come up in your life, because the patterns that come up in your life are telling you where maybe you're resisting change in some way. So the Ace of Earth. Okay. This card here is about new beginnings, new foundations. Abundance and prosperity is also a part of it. Aces contain the potential of the entire suit, and the Earth suit is about, at the end of it, is the King of Earth, and that's like legacy wealth, right? So there is the potential of that in every ace. So there's something coming in for you, and it may be that you're aligning more with your truth of who and what you are and what you're meant to bring to the world, and you're starting to care less about what other people think about you because you're stepping into more of a confident space, or just like it's almost like as time goes on and we're like more and more stuff is coming to the surface of the world and all the dysfunction that seems to be out there and the manipulations and all of that. I think that for many of us that we came here with a mission or a purpose, and we are lighting up to that now, right? We're starting to light up to that and say like it's go time. And so that can be the energy that's coming in. So the Ace of Earth is a powerful omen of prosperity and new foundations. So whether it is a financial breakthrough, a career shift, or an investment, this is a time to plant your intentions and nurture them. So trust in the universe's support. Your manifestation is taking root. So I hope you liked your message. I love it. I love it. It's perfect. See? Right in alignment. Absolutely. All right, Kelly. What does Kelly's higher self have for her today? I gotta go. Okay. So your higher self showed up with the Two of Fire. Okay. And the Two of Fire in the reverse decision. In the reverse position. When the Two of Fire is reversed, it's speaking about like indecision, like having a hard time making a decision. And if you're overwhelmed with emotions, if you're there's different stages of healing, right? And there are really, really tender moments of the healing. And in those moments, your clarity is compromised, right? If you feel like the dam is about to burst on you, then that's a very overwhelming feeling. So you're going to want to brace for that. Like, it's not you're not going to be clear in your head to be able to make big decisions and stuff like that. There could be hesitation, and if your viewpoint or perspective is that I have to drink the ocean in one swallow, as opposed to taking a cup and sipping one sip at a time. If your perspective is that that's what you have to do, that's overwhelming. So that can be make it a hesitation, because you're looking at it as a mountain instead of realizing it's just a molehill, because you're just going to do it one step at a time, one breath at a time. There could be fear of taking action, because we know oftentimes when we make the decision to heal that we're saying goodbye to people, right? It's just a product of that. As you heal, if people don't heal with you, eventually you can't be in the same situations anymore. You can't be in the same rooms, right? Because you won't tolerate the toxicity anymore, right? You won't tolerate people treating you poorly. No, that doesn't work for you anymore, right? You have boundaries, right? So the more that you heal, the more you have to say goodbye to certain people. And that's something that is often what holds us back, right? Because we have a hard time letting go. And it could also be that there's a misalignment in a partnership, because when we're looking at twos are about harmony, balance. And when we're looking at fire, it's passion, it's it's taking action. It's that type of energy. So it's really that there could be a misalignment in a partnership. So where you're doing more, or you're giving and giving and giving and not receiving because it's not being given back. The issue with takers is that takers don't have limits, right? They will continue to take until you put boundaries in and say, I'm not giving the way that you would like me to. So the Two of Fire invites you to embrace the unknown, to trust your instincts, and to step boldly into your power. The fire is burning. Now is the time to act. So whatever you've been hesitating on, or having a hard time making a decision on, sit with yourself and get clear with that, and then take the next step forward. So that's what's coming up from your higher self. Anybody else want a card? My description that I wrote down for this live is nothing at all like we ended up talking about. I don't even remember anymore what I was talking about. All righty. Anybody else want a card? Sending you so much love, right? Like every part of your journey, and especially when you're going to, work on healing things, when you're going to go into shadow work, like bravo, because there's a lot of people out there that aren't doing it, right? They're content with the life that they're living, right? They just content with staying in that same position. Right? Some people, like we identify with things. And one of the things that we identify with is our past. And sometimes we identify with that victim that we were. But we have to remember, we're not a victim. We were victimized in that moment, but we are a survivor, or we're a warrior. We're not a victim anymore, right? And we stood up, we continued on, we fought through it. So you're definitely a warrior. Okay, Carol. That came up very quickly, Carol. What is your purpose on earth? Your purpose is to reveal your true light. So that is to know yourself, your true self, and to share that light with the world in a way that brings you joy. Like it's as simple as that. But I'm going to see what the cards say. All right. Can I get a card for Carol? She'd like to know. Not all of them. Not all of them. All right. What do we get? There's a lot of water coming out. Like a lot of water. Like you've got a lot of power with emotions. Like, yeah. Anyway, there were too many cards, so I'm going to get them to get more clear because they just, I think I just, bad shuffle. All right. Can I get a good card for Carol, please? There we go. Now we got one. All right. That's, so the card that you got is the Hermit. Okay. And, that might be something where, yes, Kelly, absolutely. So the Hermit is, well, I'm the hermit. I would be definitely a hermit. I live out in the middle of nowhere by myself with my dog, and I could go for a run to the store every 2 weeks and interact with people in that moment. I'm going to be more out there more a little bit when it's warm. But anyway, I am one of those people that have no problem being at home. not a problem. And what I'm getting with the Hermit is that, so the Hermit is about transformation, right? That's that introspection, that deep wisdom, right? That inner guidance. When we do that internal soul searching, as you delve into the depths of you start to reveal the truths of not just you, but of us in humanity, right? And us in the spiritual / human form, right? Because we are both, right? We are a spirit having a human experience, and we need to be aware of both parts of that. But those things that you delve down in and you learn through your experience, through your healing experience, through your shadow work, through, all of that stuff, the spiritual work that you do, that's the stuff that you're meant to then share with others, right? That's a part of the mission. So as you find, like I said, delve more into your truth and really understand who and what you are, there in that pathway, you're going to find something that sparks in you. For me, when I went through my healing journey, I was just like, oh my God, I know what needs to happen. I know what people need when it comes to healing trauma. Like, it's not just like, you've got to have your mind, body, and spirit. Like, all three pieces of it need to be healthy to have a healthy self. And so that was the birth of the company. And, everything that I had learned on my healing journey was something that I then wanted to share with others. So it was, so it just became that sharing. So my inner wisdom that I developed through introspection and shadow work and trauma healing and all of that is what I then turn around and share with others through a space of joy, because it's a beautiful thing to be able to do, right? Yeah. Does that make sense to you now, Carol? Oops, I got to do my puzzle on this one. And there, that tea is done. I love it. So do you have an idea what that applies to for you? Hi, African. Not at the moment, no. Well, you can always get on I do offer a free call at my website. You can always hop on the phone or hop on a call with me and we can have a chat. That's always in possibility. Or you know what? I'll do your natal chart. I'll do your natal chart because that would give you a lot of indication. I use True Sidereal, and that's what I teach on the Sundays. I look at the celestial outlook, and typically when I teach on Wednesdays, I loop that in a little bit and look at like what the energies are that we're experiencing. We're just about to hit Aries season on the 18th. That's when it officially becomes Aries season. We have a new moon in Pisces on the 17th. It's a late stage Pisces new moon. So yeah, but I do work with True Sidereal, which is the living sky. I don't work in tropical, which is what mainstream astrology uses. And I do really big readings on that, which give you a lot of insight into exactly what's your sun's. Do you know what your sun sign is in tropical astrology, Carol? Or do you know any of your signs at all? Or because sometimes people know their big three or Sagittarius. So yeah, depending on where in Sagittarius, if you were in to change that to True Sidereal, it's going to move you either into Ophiuchus or potentially into Scorpio, right? That's what it would do with those. Which it's just the energy that you came here, right? The radiance that you have. If you're because I was Sagittarius in mainstream or tropical astrology, and I'm Ophiuchus in True Sidereal. And so if you look at that, that's going to give you a real indication of how like your radiance, your expression is your sun sign, right? And then you can look at all the other things within your chart as well. And that can give you a lot of insight into the things that you're meant to do here, what energies you're meant to be. Hi, Annika. Thank you so much for liking the live. Yeah. So like that Ophiuchus energy, that's transformation. That's after death and rebirth. That's the phoenix rising. Whereas the Scorpio energy is that transformation through shadow work and, like deep healing, bringing the truth to the surface, like all of that energy is the Scorpio energy, right? So that's something to explore as an option to give you some insight into what you're meant to bring here or what you're meant to do. Would you like a card, Annika? It threw a whole stack, so we're going to ask it to get clearer than that. We can't have 5 cards. No, 1 card. All right, just be clear. What message for Annika, please? Here, just 1 card. Oops. It's like I listen to the cards. It's just, I don't know how else to explain it. That's what it looks like too. I'm like, what are you saying? When do you want to stop? Right? They're just, I need to get them professionally covered. Hello, how are you? How are you? All right, Annika, message for Annika, please, Jared. Well, she's being picky. Oh. Okay. We have the 4 of Earth, but the 4 of Earth came out in the inverted position. So in the reversed, it has a different meaning. So in the reverse, it can talk about fear of loss. It can be talking about greed, which is an aspect of it, resistance to change, and then over-attachment. And what the 4 of Earth is, it's like that clinging to something for fear of that's not coming if you let go of it. So sometimes we do that with money, right? We'll hold on to it and we won't spend money because we feel uncertain of when more money is coming. But what happens when we cling to something like that and we don't allow money to remain what it is, which is currency, which means it's supposed to be flowing, and money likes to be shared. That is the energy of money. So when we change our relationship with money, that definitely like changes everything. But this one here could be like that clinging to it because it's that fear of letting it go. It could be even identities, right? When we're looking at the earth element, this is our worth, right? Earth equals worth. So when you're looking at that and your worth is indicative of your money, right? If you have a higher level of confidence, especially in your gifts or your skills, right? If you have a really high level of confidence in your skill set, then you're more likely to make money, right? If you have a solid sense of self-worth, right, then you're more likely to make money. But when we have been raised in environments where there's all kinds of like crisscrossed stuff around money, like be a good girl, money is the root of all evil. Well, how can you be a good girl and have money? So we have a push-pull relationship with it sometimes. So this is just saying that rather than clinging to it, allow there to be a flow, right? It's like if it's a relationship, then within that relationship, you want to, like a free bird, right? We want to have an open door. Like a caged bird isn't free, right? And so in a relationship, when we close that, like if it's that kind of a concept, then it's, we have to allow that person to be more detached, allow that person the freedom to, when we cling too hard, it makes them not want to stay, that kind of energy. So the Four of Earth reminds you to examine your relationship with stability and control. Are you using your resources wisely, or are you being afraid to let go? True abundance flows when you find the balance between saving and sharing, structure and flow, holding on and letting go. So there, Annika. And hi, Mila. I don't know if you left, but hello, Mila. Would you like a card, love? Hello, would you like a card? Hi, a horse with no name. Can I get a card from Mila, please? Spirit, good card. What's the matter? We're going to throw them all. Oh. All right. Spirit says is this one. Okay, we're going to decline the wanting to go on the channel. So the card that came out for you is the Three of Ether. And what the Three of Ether is talking about is divine teamwork. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you're working necessarily with, other team members, like, some girl at work or whatever, like that type of thing. This can be working with your higher self, working with deities, working with your spirit team, working with the universe. But it can also be that you're working with your soul tribe. You're working with people who have, more of an alignment with you. And that's a beautiful thing. So there's this beautiful ascended co-creation, manifestation through higher realms. There is this conscious expansion that's happening for you and alignment with universal forces. So the Three of Ether is a call to create with the universe, not alone. Okay. We always have partnership with the universe. Your highest visions are supported and are already manifesting in the quantum field. Trust the divine unfolding and watch miracles take shape. That's a very good reading for you. Hello. How are you? All right, Sha'Ryah, would you like? You're welcome. Very positive message for that. How are you, Alex? On. I'm just shuffling them for a minute. All righty. So today's Wednesday. I need a sip of water. I have to turn that off. I don't have any tea. Or a drink. I'm going to put lemon in my water. I got a lemon seed. All right. The next time that I'm live is on Saturday. And on Saturdays, I do the collective check-in with the cards, and then we do a global meditation. And I believe that I'm going to change that to Saturday evening. Currently, I was doing it at 10:45 in the morning. But I think I'm going to move it from there until 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So right now we're at 7:44 p.m. for me. So it would be 44 minutes earlier when we start. And I think that would work. It would be 9 p.m. Eastern, as an example of a different time zone. And so we'll do a collective check-in. We'll just see what the energy for what we're dealing with collectively. And then we'll do the global meditation. Okay. And we're going to focus on some really powerful things. I work with sacred geometry as a part of it to really enhance the meditations that we do. So definitely check that out. 7 p.m. Saturday. And then on 6 p.m. Sunday, I will be doing the celestial briefing. So we'll be looking at the living sky. That's what I work with, is the actual living sky. So where is the sun right now? And the sun right now is in Pisces. So anyway, I work with the living sky. I look at all the planets and their transitions through all of the celestial bodies. And I include Ophiuchus because that's a part of the living sky. And I talk about how those energies affect us and how to best work with the energies in the week ahead. So that's on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Mountain or 8 p.m. Eastern. And again, the meditation is going to be moved to 7 p.m. and Mountain or 9 p.m. Eastern, because I have an opportunity to go to a farmer's market during the day. And I have a nonprofit. I'm wearing my shirt. That's what the QR code is that's up on the screen on this one here. It actually takes you to the Hugs for Homeless donation page. So there's a variety of different ways that you can get involved with Hugs for Homeless, but it is my passion, my purpose. It's the humanitarian arm of all the stuff that I do. And so yeah, we gather donations and we put together backpacks and distribute them into the unhoused communities. And we also deliver compassion and dignity. We maybe aren't going to eradicate homelessness, but we're at least going to make it more tolerable if possible. And you can save a life with blankets, like you really can. So the stuff that we give with toques and socks and blankets and hygiene items, like imagine how much having some toothpaste and a new toothbrush could help you if you had no money, right? Like it's such a powerful thing. So that's the other thing that I do is my Hugs for Homeless. And we hope to be we're going to be branching out at some point, but currently we're in Edmonton, Alberta and surrounding areas. And we're going to move through all of Alberta and then expand. Our next place that we might go might be Ontario, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, we planned on hopefully globally, right? It would be beautiful if we could have these types of things going around globally. But yeah. All right. So I'll be back on Saturday at 7 p.m. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Love you guys. And we'll catch up later. Go check out my website. Join the free group. There's a free group there. I put a lot of stuff in it. You could go back through all kinds of things that are in there that are really powerful and free. Just check out my website on any of my profiles. And yeah. Or it's on Sha'Ryah, like that whole name there without the apostrophe, and .com, on Sha'Ryah.com. So just like that one. Love you. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. And beautiful rest of your Thursday, Friday, all of that stuff. And I'll see you on Saturday. We'll see you on Saturday. All right. Bye, guys. I'm going to close this one off first because these two make noise. Bye, guys.